You are now listening to two dudes in their 30s with Adam and Greg. They're gonna talk about stuff, and you're gonna listen. Okay, got it. Good. Let's start the show. Hell yeah!
Got some big moves in life this week. My wife and I decided that when her contract ends here, April 17th, she's a traveling nurse. When that ends, we're going to be coming back to New York, man.
Sweet. Do some of these together in person. That'll be a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely. We were listening to that last episode with Adam and Vanessa, and my wife was like, "Why don't we do something like that? As we come back, take a little bit of time, explore, see some cool sites, hit up like national monuments and parks." And so I think our plan is take like 3 weeks, drive cross country, and just enjoy life for a little bit until we get back. I already talked to like my old boss and stuff, and Teresa's talking with her old boss. So we both have our jobs waiting there for us for
cool.
Yeah. So we're pretty stoked. It'd be cool to see.
Makes it a little easier to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited to see family and friends and catch up, man.
Be here for the warm months, which would be nice.
Yeah. We were able to escape two winters, so that was awesome.
Yeah. Cool. And the pup's doing well.
Yeah. She had surgery not yesterday, but the day before. She had a tumor. Our little French bulldog had a tumor on her chest. Got it removed by an awesome vet. So West Coast Animal Hospital, thank you guys very much out here in San Diego. You guys were fantastic. It's awesome when you can find somebody that you actually trust to do business with, when it's something important. So thank you guys.
Cool. Yeah.
And I don't know, just like thinking about this episode and one of our really good friends, from childhood is going to be talking soon. Just had me kind of reminiscing, man, about our childhood and kind of like how different it is compared to like people's childhood these days. Like, yeah, it's like it's kind of even with my kids, the things that they have like access to, or yeah. I mean, I can remember like the toys we play with as kids, or like even like no internet, stuff like that. Whereas our son has like, we have a Amazon Fire, we have an iPad. Like he's like a Wheels on the Bus YouTube addict. Whereas those things weren't even like part of our lives as a kid growing up. So it's just interesting. This is a different world. And I think a lot of people are like, no pad, no this, no that. And I get that for sure. But at the same time, it's kind of like the world that we live in today is those kind of things. So I don't think you have to be on them 24/7, but to totally remove them from the home, I don't know is realistic. At least it isn't realistic for us. And I think there's ways to sort of still make those things like educational and valuable. And then also it's okay for kids to like zone out for a little while and have some fun too. So yeah, absolutely. Just like reminiscing too, though, like we were always outside, always playing like either basketball or baseball or soccer or street hockey. It was just, that was our life. There wasn't internet when we were kids. And just thinking back like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, is such a change in society, I feel like, from then till now. And I don't think kids these days can realize, like, they'll never understand that. They'll never get that. Yeah, I think it's funny though. It's just a generational thing. Like my parents always felt, I think, that we were inside too much. Mm-hmm. Because they would always say we would play outside all day when we were kids. And what are you doing? Like, and now I think we're probably going to say the same thing to our kids. And I don't know. I just feel like that's probably like a parent-kid things. And yeah, times change. And I think I can remember when we were growing up, people were saying, "Oh, I never see kids at the park anymore. I never see that. I never see that." And people say the same thing now. So I don't think it's, with all the technology and things that are available now, I don't think that that's going to get any better, I guess, from that perspective. But I don't know. I think kids are still like playing sports and getting involved in things, and they may not be doing it so much on their own. It may be like more of a socialized kind of like coached team or activity kind of thing, which I don't know is always the best thing, but that stuff's still happening, I think. And I think you have to evolve with the times at the same time and not
unless you're going to go live out in the middle of nowhere and like totally remove technology from your life, which some people do, which is great. Go ahead, do your thing. I think for the most of us, though, you have to sort of try to blend that in and just find a balance.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, I agree.
So for me, just a couple things I was wanting to talk about that were sort of on my mind. I guess the first one for me was just something that I've been thinking about the last couple of days is just like mindset and mentality, and it just kind of goes to, I think it goes along with like entrepreneurship and wanting to sort of do your own thing, or like taking those risks and those chances and kind of going out there, is like having that sort of, when you open your eyes each day, sort of positive mindset. And the reason that it's kind of coming to my mind lately is that there's just been, challenges here with different things. And without even needing to get into the specifics of those, it's more like, regardless of all those things, unless you're having like a super tragedy in your life or something, like you have a choice each day to how your day is going to go.
Absolutely.
And what you're going to make of that day, and whether or not you're going to make it a positive experience regardless of all the BS that happens, or whether or not you're going to like focus on the negatives and just, sort of live in that world. And I think for me personally, there's been times before where like my mindset maybe hasn't been so good, and I don't think that it was necessarily a conscious thing. I think it just was kind of like it was existing and sort of, good days, bad days, whatever, which is probably normal. Mm-hmm. But I think as I've gotten a little bit older, and as I've tried to focus on kind of getting the most out of each day, being present for, family, kids, trying to be more positive, I think it's sort of a decision, and it's something that you have to be very, I think for me at least, you have to be focused on sort of living that way, and trying to wake up each day and saying like, this is going to be a good day regardless of anything that happens, and I'm going to get through it, and I'm going to make it positive. I don't know. Do you think like that ever, or do you just kind of, you're a pretty positive person, so do you kind of wake up and have a conscious mindset, or do you just kind of take the day as it comes?
I guess I don't let things really weigh me down in life. I've always tried to have like a positive outlook, and when stuff happens, let it kind of roll off my back a little bit. I guess like you can let like negative situations, negative circumstances drag you down, take away all your positive outlook on life, and you can have a horrible existence if you choose to, but all of us have the same opportunities. All of us have the same amount of time in a day, and it's what you choose to do with it that's going to really be important. So I don't know, anyone out there that has situations, circumstances, like you put a post up recently, tough times don't last, but tough people do. That kind of mentality, just pushing through, grinding through, and choosing to make the best out of whatever opportunities or circumstances you have.
And I think, like I said, it just kind of lends that it was kind of something that was just on my mind, and it sort of lends itself to just some of the stuff we've been talking about lately, some of the people we've been talking to, and sort of the mindset that you have to have, I think, in order to kind of get something accomplished. So anyway, we'll get to Erik in a second. But one thing I did want to do real quick before we get started with him too is just a quick thank you to everyone that's listened so far. It's been kind of crazy in terms of where we've seen people listening from. And so to people obviously from the capital region in New York area, Albany, Schenectady, Detroit, people we grew up with or we know, thank you obviously for all you that have listened. But I mean, we're all over the place right now, so it's pretty cool. Like New York, San Diego, Boston, Chicago, DC, the Bay Area in California, Syracuse, Hartford, Connecticut, Springfield, Massachusetts, Charlotte, Atlanta, Philly, Raleigh, Durham, Myrtle Beach, Rochester, Baltimore, Providence, Rhode Island, Watertown, New York, Cleveland, LA, Tampa, West Palm. Like, wow, it's pretty crazy to see all those different places where people have checked us out. So we just wanted to send a quick thank you to all of you who have listened, who've kind of given it a shot, who have given us some feedback, whether through text, email, just kind of talking to us and giving us some encouragement to sort of keep this thing going and some positive feedback. We really appreciate it. Like I've said to everybody that's reached out, it's certainly like a work in progress and a learning experience for us, but it's been we've been having a good time doing it. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you again to everyone who's checked it out so far. We even had some downloads in Hong Kong, and France and Sweden and New Zealand. I think I know who the New Zealand ones were, but that's just crazy. kind of the world that we live in, that we could put something out here like this, and we'd have people from all over the country and, different parts of the world checking us out. So again, just a massive thank you. Hopefully we're delivering some value to you. And like we said, really the point of this is just to have real conversations and kind of talk through things and get some tips and some insight and some feedback from the people that we're talking to, and just have some interesting sort of inspiring conversations. So thanks. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely been exciting. We're reaching out to different people right now for potential, future episodes, and to see some responses from people is really interesting. Some of the people that we're reaching out to are willing to talk to us, and we have some exciting things lined up. So I don't know, we're both really excited for the future of what this channel has.
Definitely. So, all right, let's get to the guest. So this week we're talking to our buddy. This is our friend Erik LaChance. He's from the Albany area, and he's an entrepreneur. He started a business as I was sort of thinking about starting the show originally. It was kind of like he was somebody that quickly jumped into my mind, who obviously would be able to talk through some things. He's in his 30s, married, just had a kid, sort of working through that, has a 3-year-old business, and we just talked through a lot of different things with him about kind of getting it started, trials, tribulations, successes, failures, things he would do different, marketing, advertising, just mindset, mentors, all that stuff. So you'll hear a lot of that in the conversation. So we're looking forward to kind of turning this podcast over to him now and asking him some questions and getting some feedback. So anything else to sort of add to that, Adam, before we get started with Erik?
No, I think, like I said, it is really cool, like when you do find somebody that you trust in life, with business decisions. So I feel like Erik's got integrity and loyalty, and he's just a really friendly people person. And I think trusting him with your business is definitely a smart idea. So.
Okay, cool. So let's turn it over to that chat that we had with Erik recently, and we'll catch you at the end.
I think in the world we live in today, I think like put your own genuine spin on something and make it interesting. And I think people take interest pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like personal brand. We were talking a lot about that with them. It's like it's really just about personal brand today and putting yourself out there.
Yeah,
kind of being real. You know what I mean? So.
Yep, and I think that translates both to lifestyle, business, sales. I mean, everything. It's kind of everybody's so connected now that it's easy to find. It's easy to find different things pretty quickly. So
absolutely.
I think to that point too, though, like because everything's out there so much, if you're not being like real, it's pretty easy to poke holes in that pretty quickly, Yeah.
It's easy to find disingenuousness pretty quickly.
So we just kind of, as you know, we've kind of talked a little bit about this too. We kind of started this thing out, and Adam and I it's kind of like evolving. We've kind of thought about different things and things we were going to say or how this was going to go, and it's kind of started to turn into maybe trying to just have conversations with people that are interesting, that are kind of have taken chances, that have started businesses, and just kind of looking for, just like interesting conversations with those people, tips, ideas, thoughts, suggestions, etc. And so I was like, I got to get a hold of Erik. It's like they're perfect person to have a conversation with. And since obviously we're friends and we go back, it's just an easy conversation to have. Obviously.
It's an easy conversation for the three of us to have, and I think we're pretty interesting, to the title of your podcast and kind of your brand. I think it's a pretty interesting time in our lives to be talking about personal growth, because we have a few years under our belts now, where I you probably feel more like myself than I ever have. You feel like you're growing into your who you are.
Absolutely.
And I look back on, both professionally, personally, the things that I've tried to do and maybe didn't succeed with in my 20s, and it's helped. I think it's helped shape me and different having being. I always having ideas and dreaming about things and being very futuristic, I think has always been maybe one of my strengths. But at the same time, I think that it's limited me because I never took the idea I never took it much past the idea phase, so that's I think why I was drawn to something more like State Farm, because it was like an established brand that had they paved the way, and I was just able to kind of take some of my ideas and kind of work off of their brand.
Cool. So, and I was going to actually ask you something about that, but let's go back for a second. So, just in terms of background, so on the second show, Adam and I sort of went from the very beginning, like what we thought we wanted to be when we were kids, all the way up through like education and first jobs and things like that. So, I mean, obviously we've known each other for you came into town in like second grade, so it's been a long time. But
25 years.
I don't know if I know exactly what I thought you wanted to be when you grew up or whatever. So when you were a kid and like you were seeing your parents work, or you started to think about work yourself, like what did you really want to do, and how did that kind of evolve over time?
Yeah, I think, work to me was always very manual growing up, just because what I did with my dad, So, whether it was mowing lawns or doing driveways or helping my dad out cleaning floors, everything was very manual. So I really didn't. I always looked at it as a job to make money. Mm-hmm. And I think like everybody else, you kind of get to high school and you're trying to figure out what you want to be, and it's overwhelming. There's not a lot of, you don't have a ton of experience to figure out kind of what you want to do in life.
Absolutely.
And I remember I really liked shop. I liked some of the engineering classes, like where I got to build bridges. So I think I thought like be an engineer, but I was awful at math. So I don't know where nobody gave me had that heart-to-heart conversation in high school. But I think luckily for me, Adam, similar to you, I was kind of like on that younger end in our class.
Yeah.
And I felt that I always felt a little bit more on the immature side all the way up through high school.
All right.
And so I'm personally glad that I took the chance to go to Hudson Valley Community College for a couple of years and try to figure out what I didn't like and not kind of waste a ton of money in doing so.
Absolutely. I think it's a smart choice. A lot of people don't necessarily know coming right out of high school what their interests are, what their skills are gonna kind of develop into. So like community college, I feel is definitely like a safe choice that for whatever reason people don't necessarily take. So, oh.
Yeah. I think as our generation gets older and we are carrying a lot of school debt, yeah. I think we're probably going to advise our kids differently. Absolutely. Whether it's vocational school, acquiring a trade. I think there's a lot of different directions that we're probably more open to directing our helping our kids find than maybe our parents were.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
like what kind of impact do you feel like your dad, like from that your early age, had on you, like when you were doing like stripping and buffing floors and like cleaning hospitals and things like that? Like what kind of impact do you feel like that had on you from a young age on hard work and putting in your dues? Yeah.
My parents had me pretty young. They had me at 20 years old, and I think we're always trying to provide for and I think having that experience of having to work, having to help out my dad and do those extra jobs. Looking back, it's like at that age, I was like, I don't want to go that Tuesday night to go help, clean the community center or go to this pizza place to scrub the floors or refinish the floors. But it was the best experience in the world, and I think it really helps shape you and figure out that work is work and you have to do what you have to do to make money, and that's I'm at this point in my life I'm really grateful for that. Now that I have a son, I really want to make sure that I instill some of those same values in him, regardless of what success I have in my career.
So, so I guess we were talking a little bit about like, so when did you sort of evolve into like a goal for a career? I mean, obviously you went to Hudson Valley, went to Siena, and started out your job. But when did it kind of evolve into what you thought you wanted to do, or what did you think you wanted to do in college?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think all the way up on even after college, I really was drawn to marketing, and that was 05, 06, right? So there's a lot of things going on in terms of internet marketing, e-commerce that I was really drawn to, and I was fortunate to get an opportunity right out of school that was a sales opportunity, but it was also with a tech company called Mountain Media. And it was small company, so it was great because I got to wear multiple hats working with them, and got to get a taste of what small business looks like, and then had the opportunity to move over to a Fortune 50 company like State Farm in a marketing capacity, and had a chance to work down in the city in actually a multicultural specialist role.
And then I was kind of alluding to it a little bit earlier, but in terms of getting into insurance and getting into State Farm, like how did you really end up there? Was that something that you kind of like the opportunity itself you originally kind of like just sort of fell into, and then it sort of evolved into wanting to open one on your own, or how did that kind of happen?
Yeah, so I mean, as Greg and Adam, you guys know, I was always in the restaurant business growing up. Working in a as a busser, working in the kitchen, working as a waiter and bartender since I was 12 years old. And working for the Right Tomato when I was 15, and had a chance to meet a couple while I was waiting tables, named Yolanda and her husband Steven, and she was a marketing manager for State Farm, and took my information. And at the time I was just graduating. She didn't have any opportunities at that time, but a year later, after I was already out of school, working for the tech company, she reached out to me with an opportunity to join State Farm. And it was just coincidence that my uncle was already a State Farm agent. So I reached out to him and explained the opportunity, and he said, yeah, it's a great opportunity for you, and one that not a lot of people get right out from outside State Farm. So you should really jump on it. So I took the opportunity with State Farm. It had me traveling a lot down to New York, which was in and of itself just a great experience from somebody from upstate New York, just to learn about different cultures. And meet so many amazing people, both within State Farm and outside of. I also, had a chance to meet a lot of State Farm agents down there, and just seeing the ability they had to not only own a business but give back to their communities, and really use that opportunity as an agent to have a platform to give back, and to just be who they are. It was really drawing to me. And just to see that the relationship they had with their families and with their spouses, I could see that this opportunity really provided good quality of life, and that was really important to me. So that's when I started down the path of wanting to open an agency, and I moved back to a role within State Farm up in Ballston Spa that allowed me to work with local agents, and eventually open up my own agency in 2015.
So, like, as long as I've known you, you've always been like a super people person. You've networked like phenomenally. Like, even while you were working these like waiting tables and like bartending and whatnot, you're saying you're networking and meeting these people. Like, how important do you feel like networking is for somebody who wants to start up a business?
Well, I think it's huge, and I think the term networking, might be misused, and I really look at it as relationship building. Mm-hmm. And at any point in my life, I've really tried not to burn bridges with people, mm-hmm. and treat them the right way. And I feel like if you do right by people, it'll come back to you. Mm-hmm. And it's been true. I mean, I don't, even with all those opportunities, I never really had to go on multiple interviews to find where I wanted to go. I mean, the opportunities came to me based on the relationships I had. Mm-hmm. So I really view those relationships as just an essential part of life and business. And I'm lucky enough where it plays a pretty big role in the success of my industry, in my business.
So digging into that, like relationship building a little bit more, I mean, I feel like, knowing you growing up, that's been sort of a natural trait that you just been sort of comfortable in that type of role or that setting. It's not something that it seemed like you had to even really think about that much. Whereas I think with a lot of people, the idea of, let's say going, like the classic example, like going to some sort of event at night and having to go there alone and put the name tag on and then start talking to people is like they'd rather do anything. They'd rather run 100 miles than do something like that. So for those that aren't naturally inclined to be comfortable in that type of a setting, as someone who is, what would you say is like a top tip or two to have success in a setting like that?
I think everybody has the potential to be themselves, and I think that's where it starts, right? You can't go into any relationship building opportunity, whether it's an interview, a date, meeting with a potential client. You can't go into that trying to be something you're not. And it sounds cliche, but I think especially in today's world, we scroll through Facebook, we look through social media, like we just always see these perfect lives, and we're trying to be something that maybe we're not. And so I really think when it comes to relationship building, we just have to be who we are. And I've always had my own insecurities and kind of awkwardness. I try to be self-aware of how I'm presenting myself in that environment. And I think that self-awareness is also really important. So I think anytime you're going to put yourself in that situation, I think it's just important to know who you are, to make sure that you're aware of your audience, and what you can and can't say. I tend to try to be extremely politically correct, especially in today's world. I really don't try to step outside those boundaries and keep to myself with my own opinions. So, and that's true both of me being in a room with a client or with a friend, and kind of just have the right discussions in the right places.
And then just in terms of network itself, not necessarily networking, but just building up that network. I mean, I think, like you said, through your previous work experience in working in restaurants and sort of having that sort of social type of job, and then obviously, with Andrea having the connections she had too, you guys had to have a large network of people that locally. How critical was that network and those connections that you had when it came to finally, pushing it over the ledge and getting the business started?
I mean, absolutely amazing. And Andrea, I thought I was, I thought I was outgoing and I was good at networking. I mean, Andrea is just 10 times better than me. And the outpouring of love that she gets from people, just in everything, with the recent birth of our son, our marriage, or even something small. It's amazing. And I think when we opened this business, I always use the word we. I mean, it was really our decision to open this business. And, me becoming an agent and being a small business owner was a discussion that Andrea and I had on a first date. We talked about the importance of how important these goals were to me early on. And just so when we had that opportunity, we were in it. And so when I have people come up to me today and talk to me about a similar opportunity, whether it's opening a startup or any business, I really stress the importance of that support from your spouse, because without her, none of that would have ever happened. And just the people we knew, I mean, the people that she interacts with and knows on a different level, and then is able to introduce me to, is amazing. And I think I've really respected those relationships and did my best to provide a really good level of service once I've made those interactions, and that's I think what has led to a lot of our success. In addition to the work that my team, the growing team that we have in my office, that they put in, and the understanding they have of the customer service that we want to provide.
And so as you were kind of thinking about getting this started, I mean, I know I had a lot of conversations with you back, years ago as you were putting your business plan together and you were meeting with different agents and doing those different things. A couple different things to ask about that, but I guess number one, as you were kind of getting it started, and even today, any fear of like failure, like anything kind of like trepidation sort of holding you back, or were you always, more confident than not that, you'd make it work and it would happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's always in the back of your mind, right? You always have that voice in your mind saying, don't do this, you can't do that. With this business, I was so confident because of the time and the preparation that I had put into this, that I knew exactly how I wanted to do it, different from other people. I learned so many great things from other agents, and I also learned some things that I didn't want to do. And so when I went to open this business in particular, I was so confident in what I was able to create. And like I said, that support, being able to come home every night and just hear the positive encouragement from your wife or your friends or your family was just huge. So that, I mean, I don't want to say it was ever fear or doubt, but I just didn't let that get to me. And I knew my back was up against the wall and starting a business from nothing. So I think that work ethic really helped play a role in that.
So like a lot of business owners that I know personally, they're stressed, they're overworked, they're maybe like relationships and things like that struggle. What kind of advice would you give to somebody that is trying to start up their business on like how to balance work and life and how to have like maybe a team that's there to support you? What advice would you have to people that are really trying to start up their own business?
It's so hard, right? Because you want so badly to grind it out. And I think it's so dependent on where you're at in your life. If you're somebody that is without family and you can put in 100 hours a week to this or more, then do it. But if you're at a point in your life where you really want to balance it out with family, I think it really just comes down to your schedule being your lifeline and being as efficient as possible in the hours that you have to operate and building and creating a schedule that blocks out personal time, and just really honoring that schedule. So that way, when the time comes for you to be home, you're not bringing your laptop home. Your mind is there. And I've got a business life coach that I'm working with now that uses the term, be where your feet are, and both of you know me, and that's probably the hardest thing for me is to be where my feet are. Because my mind's constantly racing. So to enjoy, the dinner that I'm having with my wife, or the time that we're spending with friends, or with my son, I think is so important. And I think it's much harder even now than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago.
I think you're just always having access to something, right? It's like you can't really, even, it doesn't matter if you have the laptop, something's still going off like somewhere and happening, right? Especially when then you run a business. So it's hard for you there's no 9 to 5. I mean, you're on 24/7. So it's got to be, you got to constantly put some parameters in place or some barriers in place to make sure that you're having that time, right?
Yeah. You're exactly right, because, you see a notification and you want to click on it. You see an email come through and you want to read it. And so I think it's so easy to get distracted, and especially for people that are already easily distracted. Yeah, I think it takes even more dedication and more discipline.
In terms of the business itself, I mean, obviously State Farm is State Farm, and there's a bunch of different agents out there. But I think all of you have your kind of unique spin on it, and how you're going to run your office and how you're going to do business. And so I guess for me, kind of wondering, like, how do you differentiate yourself in your office? And I guess that starts with kind of mission. Like when you got into this and you started sort of planning things, what was your mission, and has that evolved since you started? What was it, 3 years ago now?
Yeah, so it was 3 years in January, no, it's a great question because the culture in our agency and the mission of my business, I always wanted. I always wanted to make sure that I used the opportunity with State Farm, the brand of State Farm, the tagline, like a good neighbor. I wanted to use that as a platform to do good, and have that business give me the ability to do other things. And so, growing an insurance agency is great, and it's not the sexiest thing in the world. And I know that people have, some amazing businesses, startups, and are much more accomplished in their own right. But for me, I looked at, I'm a local guy. I'm from this area. My wife's from this area. I have no plans of leaving this area. And as a State Farm agent, you're pretty much tying yourself to that community for life. And so I knew that was the perfect opportunity for me personally. I wanted to be a community leader. I wanted to give back where I could. I wanted to be able to employ people locally and give them the opportunity to own their own business. And so all of those things really led me to this opportunity. And so my mission in my agency is really to do right by the community that's supporting me and my family and my team. And so it's really my job to make sure that we act as risk advisors and protect them, both within my business and then doing what we can to give back as well.
In terms of service in your area and the people and the customers that you have, what do you think is the most important thing for your customers when it comes to service to them? I mean, what are sort of what's the thing that they have to have sort of across the board? Is there anything that sort of rises to the top that, kind of you always see as maybe an issue, or there's things that you just, you have to do for every customer that makes you kind of you?
So, it's with the competitors, the 800 numbers, with all the competitors that came into the game in the last 50 years, State Farm's been the number one insurance company, I think, since the 1940s. We've been around since the 1920s. So we're the number one insurance company for a number of years, and we've overcome a lot of new players coming into the game. And I think it's a testament to the model that we have and how relationship focused it is. But me personally, I think for my clients, it's leading with education and making them aware of what they have currently and in terms of insurance and what that does for them. I think is so important, and not boring people to death with insurance terms, but really putting them in the situation where, if this ever was an issue where you had to take advantage of the coverage that you have, here's what it does for you. And when people really realize that, I think they have a better understanding of who we are, and that we really are acting more as risk advisors than we are as insurance agents or quoters. It's really important that we educate the clients on that, and we are passionate about that across everything that we offer. So I think initially most people are most concerned about price, and that's always going to be part of it. But I think beyond that, knowing what you're getting for that price is equally, if not more, important. So getting to the point where we can address that is probably most important to me, and it eventually becomes most important to most of our clients. So
you're starting out, you're 30 years old, right? Fresh face, probably one of the youngest State Farm agents in the area. How do you get buy-in from your customers that walk in the door and say, like, what does this guy know? Like, what has he done? What kind of, he hasn't even lived life yet. He's like, how young is this guy? You got hair too. You're not like me. You look younger than you are too. So, like, how do you convince people? You know what I mean? You have the network, obviously. You have the building people who know you, but for the ones who don't, like, how do you what steps have you taken to sort of build that reputation up, and sort of continue to sort of prove that, you're the place that people should come if they're looking for this type of service?
Well, I'm really fortunate that a brand like State Farm put their trust in me. So I that in and of itself goes a long way with clients. So when I've met with people, specifically the clientele that I have that are older than me, I think it's just a matter of having a conversation with people. People may look at you and say that you don't have the experience of somebody that I want to trust. But I think once you sit down with them and you get to know them a little bit, and they actually realize that you care about them and what's most important to them, that rapport trumps their perceived experience, and you're then able to get to a level where you're seen as a professional. So I think that's helped me quite a bit just in those first few years. And you're with any business, I think the business is a reflection of you. So I do have a lot of young, growing families, which is really exciting. So within my business, I'm fortunate in that I have everyone from people that are just getting on the roads and starting to drive to people that are well into retirement, and everybody has their own story to tell. And I think it's so cool that I get to talk to these people every day about what's going on in their life, and get to know these people a little bit better, where I don't think you'd get that opportunity in every occupation or every industry.
So, obviously, perks and benefits of owning your own business, like you're meeting a ton of people, networking and helping a lot of people. But what are some of the things that maybe starting this business that you didn't understand? Like, what was some of the best things or the best outcomes so far of starting a business?
One of the responsibilities that I maybe underestimated initially was the responsibility I have for other people that I employ, and trying to create an environment that they want to come to every day, and realizing that you spend more time with those people in some cases than your own family. And so that's been really rewarding to me, to be able to offer a career to people that work with me. And then also, we have an agent aspirant program, which is pretty amazing, where somebody can come to work for me and use it as a stepping stone to go on and open their own agency. So I look at that and think, man, that could be an amazing legacy for me in years after I'm retired. And I've already had one gentleman that worked for me for a couple of years. He's going to be opening up his own agency here in May, and I just see it as such a cool opportunity to create that and kind of that coaching tree.
So we've talked about this quite a bit as you sort of built your team, and as you sort of brought people on and tried to work to develop them. When you're talking to people that are going to potentially work, for you now, what do you look for in people? What are some of the top things that you need to see when you meet with somebody, or as you get to know somebody that would make them a good fit for your team and the culture that you're trying to build?
Yeah, we have had a lot of discussions about that, because it's you want to have that fine balance between using personality surveys and balance that with good character and kind of your gut instinct, if you will. So a couple things I look for, and this has changed as time's gone on, and with the type of business I'm trying to build. I look for people that have good character, people that are coachable and driven. A couple of things that I've learned from a couple of other great leaders that I know in my industry. Asking somebody what charitable organization they support, or what book they've read, or find out what they're doing to grow personally and professionally. If I know that if I sense that they're doing that themselves, they have that internal drive. That's a huge plus for me.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but before you really started your own business, I don't think you personally had a ton of hands-on experience with managing people, right?
No, I didn't. I actually came from a role where I was a tech, it was like a technical specialist role where I worked with a lot of different business owners and their teams, but I didn't have any direct management responsibility. So that has been, that's been something I've had to learn kind of on the go.
And what would you say are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned since you started to kind of manage people as opposed to maybe process or business development?
Yeah, I've grown to understand that process, trusting a process is as important as the people that you're employing. Having a track for them to run on and leading by example is so important. And I've one of my weaknesses or opportunities for growth, in my opinion, are my in-game leadership. So my ability to lead in the moment. So that's something I've really tried to work on in my training and just in my ability to interact and communicate during the day. Because I find myself, I gravitate to working on the business and seeing 3 steps ahead and not being as tactical as maybe I should be. And executing the plays that day the way that they need to be executed. So that's an area of focus for me right now.
I think a lot of times when you read about people starting a business or you look for like tips from entrepreneurs, one of the big things that stands out is that people that have been successful entrepreneurs say that you should do what you're passionate about. It shouldn't necessarily be about like making a buck or that trying to make that quick win. It should be about something that you really care about doing, and then everything else will kind of work itself out. I may be speaking out of school a little bit here, but I don't know that, growing up you would say that insurance was going to be your biggest passion in life. But that doesn't mean you can't be a good insurance agent and build a good business. Mm-hmm. But what would you, I think I probably know some of the answer, but I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Like what is your passion when it comes to this business and what you do? I think you probably said some of it already, but if you think about that and what drives you to kind of get up and get in there every day, beyond the fact that you own the place and you want to, you want it to be successful. That's only going to take you so far. So what is the true thing or things that drive you to keep pushing forward and doing the best you can and energize you to do this?
The biggest motivator for me is just meeting. Being a connector. I love meeting people. I love learning about people, learning what makes them tick, and finding out how my business can help them. And you know what? That doesn't always mean that it's a service, a product. Sometimes it's just, Greg, how many times do I send you resumes for people? Sometimes it's just referring them to the right people and trying to help them in life. So I love that piece to it and seeing other people get to where they want to be and grow. And you know what? I'm fortunate. State Farm, our products really do help people, and we really do protect people from the unexpected. And if you don't believe that, I can tell you countless stories of people that wish they had somebody that helped them prior to that event. So I'm really passionate about the ability to help people, even when it means that it's not beneficial to my business.
You talked a little bit earlier about a coach that you were working with. What role have mentors played in your success as you've kind of come up and started this?
Played a great role from early on, from my own parents, some of our coaches growing up, and right through to some of the bosses that I had early on my career. I'm really fortunate in that I had a mentor by the name of John Toper that kind of took me under his wing when we worked together at State Farm in the corporate offices. And he's since retired from State Farm, and he's actually working with me now 3 days a week, which is pretty amazing experience. So he's played a big role.
The student is now the master.
Yeah, it's and he understands. I think he understands how my mind works, and we complement each other pretty well. So that's been such it's been that experience has been great, and just to see how things come around over time. And aside from that, I felt that I needed, like everybody, I needed a coach that wasn't in my circle, that maybe worked with other people. So I did hire a professional life sales coach that understands my industry, and that's been great because he's really helped to keep me on track, and I have such a long way to go. But I do feel like every day I wake up, I am growing, and I think that was a really important thing for me. Was when I hit a point where I felt I wasn't growing, or I chose not to read that book or read that article because I just didn't want to listen to it. He pushes me to realize the potential and just to keep on marching forward.
I guess like a lot of business owners have crazy challenges and difficulties in a daily, like their daily roles. How important do you feel those like life coaches and people that have mentored you, how important do you feel like they've impacted you for your future and you kind of setting your goals and your vision for your company?
Immensely. I mean, I always believe in with any idea you have, you need a second opinion. You need somebody to bounce those off of, because sometimes I'll be in left field from where from what my goal stands. Sometimes I'll have an idea or I'll want to take things in a direction that is completely not in line with where my intended goals are. So I think we all kind of get off our path, and that's human nature. And so to have those people that we trust and know that they have our best interests at heart, just to know that they can help get us back in the right direction, or help realize something that maybe we didn't, that was right there in front of us but we didn't see. I think that's been huge for me over the past several years, and hopefully for the rest of my life I'll always have somebody like that.
We're bouncing around a little bit here, but you talked a little bit about sales earlier. So how do you get business in today's world? I think it's just like there's so much noise out there. There's so many different things. Social media is obviously huge, but I think there's a lot of traditional selling that still goes on. It seems like in insurance too. So for you, I mean, how do you sort of balance all those different ways of potentially reaching customers in order to drive your business forward?
Well, there's definitely intentionality. I one of the things I made very clear when I opened the business, I never wanted to be the guy that somebody ran into in the freezer aisle and like ran the other way. So I really built my business around that, and referrals are still the best, the biggest compliment, and so that has never changed, and I don't see that ever changing. There are different platforms to get referrals. There are obviously social media, and you just need to, in my industry especially, you just need to stay top of mind for people. If you are the first person that they think of when the time arises that they are going to buy the house, going to get the new car, maybe had a problem with their current insurance company, or are looking to protect their life with life insurance when they found out that they're pregnant. I want to be the first person that they think of, and as long as I have a great social media presence, that we have great reviews on Google and Facebook and Yelp, and I have so many centers of influence that promote us, that is still, in my opinion, the best form of sales. Aside from that, we still do things like direct mail and online advertising, and I do have a billboard every year that I do, just to help build awareness. So I do still do traditional forms of marketing, but more and more I'm trying to build up our referral network.
How about as we probably wrap it up here in the next couple of minutes? How about a failure since you started the business, something that just did not go right that you learned a lot from, that you could change going forward?
A failure that we've. I'm just trying to think here.
Doesn't have to be a massive thing either. Just something that maybe that went wrong, even maybe from the beginning, that if you look back on, you do differently, you learn from, and you could kind of take with you going forward.
Yeah. One thing I would just caution anybody opening a business, especially one like mine, where there's a lot of people. There's a lot of templates out there, right? There's 19,000 templates of ways that agents run their business. Find one that's successful that you really are drawn to, and make it your own. Because I've tried to implement someone else's process, and while that's great, it's great to kind of get that out of the box program in place. It's really important for you to build off of what has already made you successful and not draw too far away from that. And I think that I've done that, even most recently in the last year, where I've tried to implement somebody else's process, and I didn't necessarily make it my own. And I'm kind of backpedaling now to do that, and to just match that up with who I am, what I want this business to look like, and what my mission is. And so I think it's easy to get too drawn away from that, especially with all these leadership courses now. There's every boot camp you could possibly go through out there now. And so I would caution anybody who's in any form of business to proceed with caution, and make sure that you kind of take that time to digest the information when you get back, and make sure you're not steering too far away from your mission.
And then just, I guess, the last one for me on the business side of things is kind of what do you think the future holds? Like, what are the goals, short term, long term, for your business? What do you see yourself doing down the road?
Oh man, well, I want to continue to obviously grow the business, but be more socially aware. I want my entire team to spend more time in our community. I want to be more family centric. I want to do things with the families within my team, and also with our clients. And so I want to grow my business, but I want to grow it the right way, and continue to use that platform to promote the good things going on in our community, and try to help others. So I really see short term. There's a couple of organizations I'm pretty passionate about that I want to get more involved in this year,
talk about them. You can name them and direct people on how to get to them.
Yeah, absolutely. My nephew was actually chosen for Make-A-Wish. So that's an organization that I really want to support. He had a chance to go meet the Pope this past year. So it was it's pretty amazing experience for him, and just a really I think emotional experience for his family. So I would like to get more involved with that organization. Aside from that, we also support Out of the Pits, which is an awesome pit bull rescue, local pit bull rescue. State Farm is one of the only companies that does not discriminate against dog breeds. And so we have our own, one of our dogs, Lonzo, is from Out of the Pits, and he's awesome. And so we'd love to support that very cool organization locally as well.
And then as we kind of wrap up the business side, I think, Adam, do you have anything else, or you good?
I feel like the things that I've gleaned from this conversation is literally, if you're going to start a business, be authentic. Erik obviously he's doing his thing, and he's helping people, and he's using the skill sets that networking and helping people that are just innate abilities in him, to grow his business. Yeah. I just see you're doing good things, Erik, and I'm excited to see where your business is going to go here. And I really thank you for your time and talking with us and sharing your experience with growing your business with everyone else. Learn from someone who's authentic and doing it. So
how does our massive listener pool find your business, Eric? How to direct people to your places online?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go to S as in state, F as in farm, LaChance, LaChance.com. Also, that's the name that is used across social media networks. So you can find us there. You can message us on Facebook or send an email to Erik, ERIK, at sflachance.com. If anyone is interested in the business or even just connecting, I'm always willing to talk to other business owners and anyone for that fact. And I know I didn't say this earlier, but I just wanted to congratulate the both of you on the podcast. I think it's awesome. You two guys have known each other your entire life, so your innate ability to kind of converse and know each other and build off each other is great. So I'm looking forward to listening.
Cool, thank you, man.
Thanks again, Eric. Appreciate it. Adam, I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Thank you, Eric.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Later. All right, so that was our quick chat with Erik. That's Erik LaChance. Again, sflachance.com. If you want to check out his business website, you can also search him on Facebook. It's just search Erik LaChance State Farm. You'll pull him up. For sure, if you're in the Albany area, check him out. Great guy to do business with, great guy to just have a conversation with if you're looking to start a business. And he's always willing to sort of network and bounce some ideas off of each other about how you could, potentially, work together or, provide some value to each other and work through, again, kind of getting that business off the ground. So, that's the show for this week. Again, we appreciate you guys listening, and thanks again for checking us out.
Yeah, make sure to check out our socials. We're trying to build that right now. We got the YouTube up, 2 Dudes 30. We got our Instagram, Facebook, and I think you also put us up on Stitcher too, right?
Oh yeah, some new places to listen. So we're up on Stitcher. If you don't have iTunes, you can check us out on Stitcher. You can check us out also on Google Play Music. And then, like Adam said, obviously Apple Podcasts, iTunes. We're on YouTube as well. So some different places to check us out.
Yeah, so reach out to us also at 2dudes30@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And just hopefully keep on pushing. If you got difficulties in your life, keep going. It's gonna clear up. So.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll check you next week. See you, man.
you expect me to do? Just close my eyes and forget about you.
The things I can't bear to say,
But inside me,
only these words can portray
what you did to me.
You left me torn in two, cold with no faith.
When inside,
For you it's time to see the truth in me.
was there something to say? Could you say any more from me? No. Is there something to say? Could you take any more from me? Is there something to say? Could you take any more?